Brian, we've been talking about our animals who have passed. Now are we talking about somebody whose goose may be cooked? I hate to hear this. What are these rumors? Uncle Dave is involved, so you don't know what to believe. But basically, the topic is CM Punk to the WWE, yay or nay? Whose side are you on? What are we hearing? What's the latest caca or gaga from the scuttlebutt of the butt of the scuttle?
Well, if you remember when we last talked about this, I think was when Dave reported that WWE, I think that there was interest to have CM Punk come back to WWE, right? Was that what it was?
Something of that nature. And we said, well, duh, you think? And we laid out that Survivor Series is in the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, which, I mean, obviously that's sold out already, I'm sure. If not, it's going to be. They don't need Punk like AEW did to sell out the United Center. But my God, the response of a surprise debut would be massive, and that would lead to the Royal Rumble, and that would lead to the WrestleMania 2 nights. And who else in the wrestling industry currently healthy and available to sign is remotely as big a name, as controversial, or potentially as big of a draw as Punk? So, yeah, it kind of works. That's what we said.
All right, and then I believe a report came out, and I don't have the original one in front of me. I was looking for it, from Fightful, saying that WWE is not bringing CM Punk in. So then Dave Meltzer put out a second report, or at least this is on his website. WWE decides against hiring CM Punk. Dave Meltzer addressed the latest updates on Punk and WWE on his radio show. This is by Ian Carey. WWE has decided against bringing back CM Punk. Punk's intention to return to the company was reported in the latest edition of the Observer newsletter, with sources from his camp stating that the two sides were in talks.
He has a camp.
Dave Meltzer provided an update on the situation during a special Tuesday night edition of Observer Radio. Here's a quote from Dave. "They turned him down. The decision was a no. He wanted to go there, and the decision was a no. I mean, it can always change, and it was brought up to me that there is no such thing as no forever when it comes to WWE, but it's no for now. It's Vince's decision. Vince, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, and obviously they decided that the negatives outweighed the positives." So what are your thoughts on this coming off the previous story?
But now you glossed over something. He was reacting to something that Fightful reported, right?
Well, it doesn't mention Fightful here, but I first saw the first person I saw report that WWE was denying that CM Punk was coming in was Fightful.
Okay, so the point of, did Fightful have all these details, or did Fightful just say, well, now it looks like a no, and then Uncle Dave comes in, well, yeah, this and that and the other thing? Or where are these details coming from?
I couldn't tell you that.
And again, which we're going to talk about something here in the next couple of minutes that makes me wonder why that Vince was the first one to be mentioned there, when the next rumor that we're going to talk about is that Vince has been removed from the creative situation and Triple H is completely in charge. So if Vince said no, then does that still count? And above all else, what the fuck do they think if they ask somebody from the WWE whether they're going to bring CM Punk in as a surprise? Are they going to say yes if they are or not? Do you see what I'm saying? Why would they? Oh, yeah, there's this great big surprise thing we're going to do. Nobody will expect it. It's going to happen in about 6 weeks or whatever. Why would they say that? So we ain't going to know till we know. If he don't show up in Chicago, then it may look dim. But right now, why would you tell Dave Meltzer or Fightful or anybody else if that's what it was going to be? Because the whole thing would have more impact as a surprise. That's my thought.
Well, I want to ask you about the surprise aspect, but I have an additional report here. This is from a couple days ago from Fightful. by Sean Ross Sapp what WWE talent and staff has heard about a possible CM Punk return. CM Punk is the talk of the town once again, as virtually every outlet has reported what they have heard regarding he and WWE. Roll call, we're here.
What? What? What?
I don't know what that is. WWE feels confident that CM Punk would come to WWE. CM Punk's termination from AEW led to questions about his future, including the possibility of a return to WWE. We've learned of what some within WWE think. WWE higher-ups fully believe that CM Punk would sign with the company if they had interest. In the past year, we've heard that Punk has been open to the idea, but WWE sources think the ball is in their court. As of 2 weeks ago, nobody within WWE had indicated that CM Punk and the company had talks. In late September, we were told that it appeared there were feelers out from Punk to WWE to see if there was any interest there. One WWE employee as of last month advised someone close to Punk that talking to Vince McMahon directly would have been the best course of action to secure a return to the company. In the past, we're told Vince McMahon was adamant to Fox that he wasn't interested in bringing Punk back, although Fox had been pushing for it before he went to AEW. Let's stop it there, because again, it ties back to Vince and the relationship between Punk and Vince.
And I remember the falderall or the conflagration or whatever when Punk showed up as an employee of Fox's rather than or being paid by Fox. I don't know if he was a employee with benefits, but he was being paid by Fox, not by WWE, to be on the program talking about the WWE. And that, at the time, people said, well, that should have led to something if something was going to happen. And it didn't. And to be honest, I don't think either one particularly wanted to do it at that point in time. I think things are a little bit different now. And again, if I don't want to spoil our next topic, but potentially if Vince did blow Punk off or did decide against Punk or any level of that in between, whatever, not know how, whatever the case, is that why maybe that Vince is being rumored to be away from creative now? Did Ari have a situation with Vince over potentially not wanting Punk to come back in? Is there disagreement there amongst the higher-ups? Because here's the thing, whether Punk talked directly to Vince or not, I don't think he's talking to any employees of the WWE that are talking to Sean Ross Sapp or Dave Meltzer or anybody else. He'd be talking to Nick Khan, Vince McMahon, Triple H, possibly even Ari Emanuel.
Bruce Pritchard.
Or Bruce Pritchard. And none of those people would be, if they did talk to Dave Meltzer or Sean Ross Sapp or anybody else, they would only be telling them what they wanted them to know. So, again, I don't see what's going on here exactly. It's not clear yet.
Multiple sources we spoke to near Punk believe he would in fact sign with WWE. There's still a ton of heat on CM Punk in WWE, with plenty of it stemming from his last run almost 10 years ago. Sources familiar with the situation believe that many of them would be consulted in the event Punk would return to WWE, and to prevent anything similar to what happened multiple times in All Elite Wrestling.
So the people that I talked to in the company believe that they would be asked if it was okay for Punk to come back. What?
One top star said that Punk knows he, quote, wouldn't be able to pull any of his shit here. There's nobody here he could jump without getting his ass handed to him. End quote. When we brought up...
I don't know. Come on. There's still a couple physical specimens on that roster that, you roll your eyes at. But nevertheless, again, is Dave assuming that this is a children's playground?
Well, this isn't Dave.
Romper room?
This is Fightful.
Or Sean Ross or anybody else. They don't Punk would know that, no, I'm not going to be face locking anybody there, but I'm probably not going to have to, because they're not going to be running their dick lickers about me on fucking Twitter unless it's an office deal. Nobody's going to be doing anything in that company unless it's a goddamn office approved deal. So again, I think they're automatically thinking, well, Nick Khan is going to go to the goddamn locker room and take a vote on whether it's okay if he signs a big star for the company. I don't think they're going to go that deep as AEW did with the level of approval necessary. Whether they do it or not, they're not going to ask that deep about anybody. It's a goddamn business over there.
Well, again, the article goes on from here. You can check it out at Fightful.com. But the idea that there are some talent willing to, again, off the record as they would, but say negative things about CM Punk before any of this. Who knows what the real high-up talks are, but you brought up a surprise before. If you have CM Punk, and if you're going to do it in Chicago, A, could it even be a surprise? And B, would you want that as a surprise? Or would you want that to be something, like when Jake the Snake was announced, a bad example, but when Jake the Snake was announced for the 1996 Royal Rumble, people paid to see him there. Like, oh shit, he's going to be there.
Yes.
He wasn't a surprise entrant. So with CM Punk, and again, if we're talking Chicago in the Survivor Series, could it be a surprise and should it be a surprise? And again, the real big thing is, could it be a surprise just because of all this kind of stuff getting out?
Well, remember in 1996, it wasn't always a guarantee that every pay-per-view even was going to sell out with the WWF business at that point in time. And then it was still necessary to get people to buy the pay-per-view in large numbers over and above the live gate. So advertising a guy like Jake the Snake was a big deal toward doing both of those things. And it worked. As you said, people paid to see him because it had been a few years. But with Punk, if they wanted to make an impact, he's been on national TV, even though not theirs, here for the past couple years, part of the time. But they're going to sell out the United Center. And Survivor Series, they don't need to sell pay-per-views anymore, but they're still going to do a massive viewership. But to make a moment, to get, started with something with Punk, instead of just wasting his first match or just, hey, we're going to have him do a promo, what the fuck? Let him be there. I think to see in front of that backdrop, that crowd, if he was to come out, and it's right there. He's the most unpredictable man in fucking wrestling, the most dangerous man in fucking wrestling, the most controversial man, whatever superlative they wanted to go with. People love him, people hate him, the wrestlers love him, the wrestlers hate him. He gets in fights in the ring, he gets in fights in the locker room. He's a true lone wolf. You don't know where his head's at, but he's got a moral compass of some description that he sticks to, but he can do anything that he wants within that, heel or babyface. And it's an impactful debut. So I don't think that would need to be advertised ahead of time, because it would be an angle, an advertisement to build to something that would be advertised ahead of time.
It seemed like there was a period of time where Vince could bring anyone in and everyone kind of, to the best of their ability, would accept them or understand that Vince wanted them there. And then after a while, it was kind of, especially with WCW closing, us versus them. And, top talent were given the right to kind of be a little more moody or picky with some of the people they worked with. CM Punk coming back, how do you deal with the idea that there would be any talent or top talent that had an issue with it? Do you deal with it? Do you talk to them in advance? Do you explain you're doing this for the good of your business?
All of those things. And I think if anybody registered to who's in charge of talent relations these days, I don't know what the hierarchy is, but if anybody registered, hey, I've got a problem with this guy, I don't want to work with this guy, or I don't want to be in a locker room with this guy, I would imagine the first thing that they would do is bring all of those guys together, supervise, sit them down, talk it out, make an agreement of either some apology, some contrition, some mending of the fences, or an agreement to avoid each other or whatever. But there wouldn't be any, it would be clearly delineated. There wouldn't be any bullshit allowed to linger as long as anybody was made aware of it. If somebody's going to sit in the corner in the locker room and just, boy, one of these days I'll get the chance to potato him in the fucking face. Well, they're not going to know about that, but that's not Punk's fault. So I would think that that would be handled at the start of the thing. And at the same point in time, if it's, some fucking guy from NXT or a guy that's on the bubble after the last releases, and he's, well, I got a problem with that guy. Well, okay, then be free, fly away. If it's Cena or goddamn LA Knight or any of these people, that would be an issue, but it ain't.
What about Rollins? What about Owens?
I didn't know that Owens didn't like Punk.
I'm just throwing names out there. Names out there.
But Rollins, if that's a shoot, well, then they can either work together or they don't have to make that fucking match. I don't, honestly, a lot of the guys on top in the WWE right now were not there 10 years ago, were they?
Well, Rollins, Reigns, Cody, even though, it was a time away.
I think Punk and Cody would probably be fine because of business.
You would think, and maybe it would become that way once doing business, but there are enough people there that were there 10 years ago, and again, we don't know what anyone's problems with Punk would be specifically.
Well, that's the thing. What I'm saying is, if Punk does not end up going to the WWE, it's because of, I don't even want to say heat, but heat or lack of interest or the decision made by somebody in the office and administration at a high level, not because anybody on the roster was like, oh, don't bring that guy in, we don't like him. It'd be because there's still lingering dislike from one or more of the people whose names that I called out a little while ago.